from a Hoosier salad. Marshall talks about being governor and pardoning people. Critics made a good deal of sport of me as they called me the pardoning governor. They even cartooned me, having a man jostle me in a crowd, saying, "Pardon me, governor, pardon me, governor." And my response apparently was, "Certainly. What crime have you committed?" But out of the large number that I first paroled into the hands of some good man to watch, and when they were safely on their feet again pardoned, I had less than 30 paroles to revoke. Most of them became upright citizens of great character. For instance, he talks about how after he's vice president, he goes back to Indiana for a dinner honoring him, and there's two young men in a corner seemingly engaged in animated conversation. At last the public reception was over, and I was left alone for the moment when these two young men came up, shook hands with me, and one of them said, "Governor, you don't know either one of us, but you first paroled us from the Indiana Reformatory. Each of us now has a good job. One of us a member of the church, the other one will soon be. You have had great political honors thrust upon you, and in this we rejoice. But the greatest thing you ever did was to be a friend to us. We both shall feel that if we ever do an unlawful thing, we betray not just the law, but you, Mr. Thomas Marshall, governor of Indiana and vice president." So, he says, "It was undeserved because what I did came only through what I conceived to be a discharge of the public duty, and that is the conscientious administration of law for the reformation of unfortunate criminals. Alas, of the good things which come to life, most are undeserved. But fly me riches, fly me huzzas, fly me honor, the handclasp of a king, or the huzzas of multitudes, which now and then in intense political moments I have had. Nothing has ever touched my heart or left me at peace, as did the handclasp of these two young men starting out their life, starting out their journey on the highway of life." As he said, critics called him the pardoning governor. Only one that I revoked of my paroles did I revoke with any sense of reluctance. A father and mother came to me time after time, begging me to let them have their son back from the Indiana Reformatory. I found that they were good, kind individuals with an only son. And the only son reminds me of the fact that I was an only son myself, Marshall writes. I found, to digress a moment, I had a client who called me to procure a divorce for his daughter. And I asked him what the trouble was. He said, "Tommy, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I have 3 daughters, and all 3 of them are now going to be divorced. And every one of my son-in-laws has been an only son." Again, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but only sons are most generally hell. Well, this father and mother had evidently pampered and ruined this little boy. And I told him, it's better I not pardon him. Better that he learn a trade in the reformatory and would come out far better than if I gave it to him. I said he had never done any good in the city and never would. They thereupon told me that they had 40 acres of land out in the country, and they would move on the farm and take the boy out there if I would just let them have him. So I finally paroled him, on the condition that they keep him on the farm. Well, they did not. And some 2 or 3 months later, the chief of police called me up, saying that they had rearrested this boy, and did I desire to retry him, or would I revoke his parole and send it back to the reformatory? I, of course, revoked the parole and sent him back, but I did it regretfully, and here's why. Because the new crime that he committed consisted in this course of conduct. He bought himself a blue suit, the boy, and a blue cap, and he put on the cap BH, the initials of Board of Health. Then he went down into the Hunyak district in Indianapolis and went from house to house, fining the occupant $1 for unsanitary conditions. He found them, collected the money, and then stayed there till they had scrubbed and disinfected. The health officer told me that although this was conducted in fraudulence, the boy had accomplished more in the way of health in a week than they had been able to accomplish in years. I hated to send a public benefactor like that back to the reformatory, but I did. And I'll leave it there. There's many more in here. So these are the kind of little scraps that scraps might belittle the concept, but I find things in libraries and books and things that I'll enter on various special episodes in the Patreon if you subscribe to that. It could be as little as $3 a month. And then I may use them in episodes later. There's going to be an episode coming up on discharge petitions that all stems from me finding this little nugget that Gerald Ford had signed a discharge petition on the Civil Rights Bill, trying to get the Civil Rights Bill away from a rules chairman that didn't want it to go forward. He was not successful, and his friends were not successful in that effort, but he did sign this discharge. So that's going to lead to a future episode. All right.